Hi, I'm Jennifer Hollick with Finding the Answers Journey, and today is the 4th of July, 2019. I've been a bit lax in the last month, recording my Choosing You First, Creating Your Life videos. My husband went into the hospital 3 times in the first month that I was over here. I spent half of my time in the hospital or in doctor's appointments or procedures or whatever. That's been really hard to deal with. And if you followed my journey since I started this in January and talked about last fall and everything that happened, and even the last visit, it's like we can't get out of this loop of hospitals. But we have a pretty clear indication now of why and what's possible to change. And there will be more procedures coming up to try and figure out, is there something else that can be done to prevent this? Or at least space it out a bit more, because maybe it's something that can't be changed. I don't know. What I've learned though is I have no control over this, which I've talked about before, but oh my gosh, it's a lesson I'm still learning. And I've gotten a good look again at where other people are functioning from in all of this, whether they're family, friends, my husband, even myself, and the things that I'm doing that I keep doing. I don't change it, and the same stuff keeps happening. And there's a phrase about that which I can't think of right now, but basically when you keep doing what you've been doing, you're always going to get the same result. And I think I've reached a point where, okay, I'm done. So yeah, I'm going to really start making different choices now, because this has not worked. And I'm getting ready to go back home, and I feel like I've missed half the summer sitting inside. And summertime in Europe is my favorite time because the birds are always singing. Maybe you can hear them. Everything is green and blooming, and it's just beautiful. And I feel like I've missed a lot of that. So I'm definitely going to make some changes when I get home too, because I do spend too much time in my house, and yeah, that's just not going to work anymore here or there. So making some plans to be out every day until I fly home, and then definitely when I get home. But one of the things that I really struggled with this time was the amount of information. It seemed like over the 3 hospital visits, there were so many more doctors and specialists and so many more questions to ask, and I had to be even more on alert and even ask more questions and listen, and I'm grateful that almost everybody here speaks English, so we can have a conversation and I know what's happening. But it seemed just so overwhelming. And in the last visit, the day before he was released, we had this doctor that his ego just filled the room. You could feel it before he even walked in. And that's hard for an empath, because you're aware of this. You're aware of immediately where they're functioning from, which is not the same place you do. And you have to try very hard to remain calm and ask intelligent questions and not start crying because you've just had enough. And I tell you, this doctor sent me over the edge, and I actually walked out of the room. I couldn't deal with my husband. I couldn't deal with the hospital doctors, anybody anymore. I left in tears. And I was in such a bad place that I just ignored my phone for hours. I had a really long cry, which I still don't think was quite enough to clear everything out, but over the course of a day, it helped a lot. I went to my favorite Italian sandwich shop for lunch late in the afternoon because I had to eat, and it was like 95 here, and the people there are so nice. And it's like my comfort food place. It's very small, and the energy is great, and the people are great, and I love this Parma ham sandwich that I always get, and it was just the right thing to do that afternoon. And one of the women who works there showed me some deep kindness and love, and for that I am so grateful. But the whole experience has really changed me, and I think, again, when I get home and I take some space from all of this, I really have to look at where have I been functioning from, and what am I willing to accept from now on, and what am I not. And I'm not willing to accept sitting in a hospital or sitting in the house all the time anymore. And Johan and I have discussed this. You know, he never forces me to stay with him. He always says, especially after he's stable and things are okay, you know, go do something fun. You can't sit here all the time. But yet, listening to my intuition, this time I was aware many days that I would have been beautiful to go out, that I couldn't. I had to stay for some reason. And then, you know, the reasons presented themselves. So I felt like I got a bit more of myself back as far as my intuition was concerned, that I was actually listening to it, which was really important. But I am looking at, you know, coming back this fall for a little bit, and what do I want to do? And it can't be the same thing that I've been doing the last 3 trips. So I'm making plans with a friend in France to go do a little bit of touring for about 5 days. And if Johan can go with me, great. And if he can't, we've already worked that out. And if he goes, you know, he does a lot of sitting and resting, and I do a lot of wandering by myself, and that's just what it is. And neither of us may 100% like that, but we've agreed that, you know, we like to be together and we like to try and do some things together, but we know realistically we can't do everything we used to together. So, you know, making plans for some of that, and hopefully we'll go away for our wedding anniversary, just a couple days, and do something relaxing. But we were able to go to Renessa, which is on one of the islands in Zeeland here, and I'd never been there, and we had 2 days, and it was beautiful. We had perfect weather. The beaches there are so clean and calm, and they're not filled with tons of people, maybe because it was a weekday and it wasn't 95, but it was just peaceful. And I took this beautiful walk. We stayed on a resort, on a estate with a castle, so I got to explore a castle. I got to take a beautiful walk to the beach one night by myself and just be and relax. And I even brought a book to read because, you know, I always have to be doing something, but I didn't even read the book. I sat outside on the terrace outside our hotel room and wrote a little bit and meditated and just listened to the birds and watched the flowers and the grasses sway in the breeze, and took some walks, and it was just, wow. I didn't know I was capable of that much relaxation and not always doing something. So that I have to look at too, because I want more of that. I really enjoyed that. And then before we came home, we went to Zarek, a small town about 20 minutes from Renessa, just to look around and just explore. And that was great. We went to a museum, saw some new things, so I really enjoyed that. We had a nice drive home, and yeah, it was absolutely what we needed at the end of all of the hospital stuff. So I think incorporating a little more of that when we're together, we both agreed, is a really good idea. And when we stay in places like that, it's much more possible for him to go take a nap or rest if he needs to, and sit someplace beautiful while I go and explore. And that's just what we have to do. So my invitation to you for this week is to look at all the places you've been functioning from and what's not working, and what have you continually been in a loop and said, well, I'm going to do it again. Maybe I'll get a different outcome, and you never do. What are those places? What can you start to change? And we just had an eclipse Tuesday. We're having another one pretty soon. We had a new moon also with the eclipse. I know that sent a lot of us into this weird space. I was dizzy for hours while that was happening. I had to go, it was actually nighttime here, and I went to bed early to just try and stop that. But I woke up feeling different. So, and Mercury retrograde is about to happen, and there's a lot of energy shifting. So take a look at where you're functioning from. What can you change? And how can you create your life in a different way? And if you'd like to share any of that with me, please do so on Facebook or send me an email, and I will look forward to speaking with you again soon. Bye.